you may have had a class with me. I recognize a few faces and names. I'm in Seal Beach, California. I was born in Chicago, worked in the tech industry, owned my own internet service company and my own training company. I've been doing adult education part-time since 2007 and full-time since 2009. And I joined Get Set Up in December and started teaching classes early in January, mostly on technology, but on a number of other things as well as we try different things out and the interests of our communities change. We're a learning community. It's ideal if we can see you, but it's not a requirement. You can request a recording after class at help@getsetup.io if you're interested in seeing it repeated. If you're joining by live stream, the best way, we encourage you to participate, join us, and register for a class. And even though we might be mentioning different products or services or other things, we're not paid to promote any specific products or brands or services. We're just using them for educational purposes. So Harry tells me now we're now live streaming. So welcome to those of you joining us for a live stream. We're happy to see you. And Michael is going to be watching chat along with me. And so if you have a question, wave, put it in chat or get our attention, by using the reaction button, and we'll call on you. And otherwise, we generally try and keep people muted because microphones on computers pick up a lot of noise in the background, and that can be disturbing to anybody hearing. I have a little bit of a hearing impairment. In fact, I'm going this afternoon to get a new set of hearing aids. I'm excited because they're going to be Bluetooth, and I might actually be able to use them on Zoom calls. So I'm not sure if I can or not, but I may try that out, see how that works. Hey, so today's agenda is about using and finding free photos on the internet. And so a couple of things that I want to cover before we take a look at about a half a dozen websites that I found for you is I want you to understand what permissions and copyright are so that you don't get into trouble using a photo. It's something that a lot of people misunderstand, and I'm a amateur photographer. I do publish some photos, I write books, and so keeping permissions is important for me and other photographers. But there are these things called stock photos, so I'll explain what those are, and we'll talk about ways you can use the stock photo websites and some even more sources of free photos. So I do have a question for you. Does anyone have use PowerPoint or Word at all? Okay, so there are some features in there that you may or may not be aware of that are available to you in PowerPoint and Word that I'm going to show you that give you access to a stock photo library. So I'm just curious, are there any questions that people had about photos or stock photos or what finding free photos and using things? Beata, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Bob, for pronouncing my name so nicely. Yes.
Did I get it right?
Yes, you did, Beata.
Oh my gosh,
yes,
okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Bless it. One of the things is, since everyone meets virtually, our church meets virtually, we'd like to be able to use more different photos and then post it to YouTube or to Facebook and not have it violate permissions and copyright. So that's what I'm concerned about.
Oh, great. Yeah, you never know. I mean, a lot of organizations, photos are a good way to communicate almost any kind of idea or concept or topic because people are very visual in what they recognize and understanding, making sure you've got permission. I don't know if you've ever posted a YouTube video or anything up online and somebody said, you violated their copyright or anything like that. And I'll show you the resources I'm going to show you, give you permission to do anything with it you would want. So that's a great question. Mary, you have your hand up.
Yes, I try to use Creative Commons a lot, and if I'm posting on Facebook, I try to do the the Creative Commons and the source and all the things, but I don't know if that's enough. So I'm curious as to how to use Creative Commons, what you need to cite when you're using Creative Commons, things like that.
Great topic. For those of you who don't know, we are going to talk about Creative Commons, Mary. And we're going to talk a little bit about what permissions they give you and what permissions are necessary to use. And I'm also going to show you a lot of other resources on the internet as well. Okay. But yeah, that's a real good question, because for those of you that aren't familiar, Creative Commons is a alternative to what is called copyright. And they do cite permissions for how you can use certain things. We'll talk about why permissions are important. Alice, thank you for raising your hand and using the reactions.
Hi, I'm an amateur painter, and my interest in finding photographs is for inspiration. But the thing I have difficulty with so far is in being able to download the picture and make a print of it so that I can work from it while painting. And I wondered if you were going to be dealing with the downloading and printing of.
Downloading, yes. Printing, we'll see if we can take a look at that. Okay. It wasn't on my agenda, but I'll try and fit it in. Okay.
It's just sometimes I downloaded and then I couldn't get it to print.
So, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's unusual, but we'll see what might be going on there. We'll try and take a look at that.
Thank you.
Okay. Sure. Anybody else have any questions? Sounds like we've got some pretty sophisticated photo media users here on this call. So that's great. Anybody else have anything they can think of off the top of their head? Okay, because you're going to have questions, I know, as we go through the material, and that's okay. All right, so let me go through and talk about what is a stock photo. There's this concept called a stock photo. And basically what it is, it's a photo from an online photo library. So basically there are services out there called stock photo services that are essentially online library resources of photos. Now, they've also expanded into things like videos and audio sound clips as well, because with people producing a lot of things like presentations and videos and things like that, but it is a standard stock photo. It's something that it can be reused. So think of like a library book. It's not owned by you, it's owned by the library, but you can check it out and use it, and it can be reused by many different people over and over again. And so stock photos are designed typically to be used multiple times by many people. There is usually an option to pay if you want to have exclusive use of that photo, if you want to. But in general, most people on the web, bloggers, websites, YouTubers, other people, they just use stock photos from stock photo libraries. They can be either free or paid. You'll see some of the differences in the websites that offer both. They're offering a lot more for free in order to get people to come visit their website and maybe find a premium photo they might be willing to pay for. But there's just millions and millions of free stock photos available on these websites that are available to use. And there's also a resource in Microsoft 365, which we'll take a look at. And the idea behind the stock photo is what you get, whether you download it for free or whether you pay for it, you get what is called a license to use it. You get permission to use it. And the permissions are pretty consistent, but we'll talk a little bit about them. So these are just websites, they're libraries on the online that you can download all these types of photos from. And I'm going to give you, in the email after class, you're going to get a list of all the ones I show you as well. So you don't have to write them down as we go through them. So if you ever remodel the kitchen, you can probably find things like stock cabinets. If you go to a Home Depot or a Lowe's or a home improvement store, they often have cabinets in stock that you can just buy and put in the back of your car or SUV or truck and put them in, install them right away. Okay. But then there's custom cabinets that you can have custom built and custom design. And there's also something called semi-custom. But the idea behind a stock photo is that it's off the shelf. Okay. It's off the shelf. So the idea that the phrase, quote, a photo is worth 1,000 words or a picture is worth 1,000 words. We are very visual people, so we like to learn. We can pick up things right away from images we see in documents, whether you're using writing a flyer or a book, or just making a short announcement in a word processing document. You can make it and use it in presentations, like I'm using photos that I have from stock photo libraries in this slide to show you, a stock cabinet and a custom cabinet. Or you can use them on websites and in social media if you want to use them there. So stock photos are less expensive than a photographer. If you want to hire, you can always get a photo by hiring a photographer that will take pictures and edit them and sell them, sell you your photos. But that's expensive. And so if you're looking for a photo, say you're a travel, writer, or you want to show a picture of a beach, or you want to show a picture of a city or something like that, you can find a stock photo for much less money than hiring a photographer to go out and do it for you. And so that's one reason why stock photos are so useful, because they are less expensive and the images are very high quality. The stock photo websites have quality standards for photographers to upload the photo to the library, because photographers put their photos in the library. The libraries are also easy to search, and that you can type in words like tiger or cat or beach or mountain, and you can find all kinds of photos and search for them by topic or by even size if you want to, or shape. And they're quickly available. As soon as you see the photo on the website, you can download it with a click. Okay, and so it doesn't take long to get them. So that's why people use stock photos. So any questions about why you might want to use them and places? So, I mean, if you can use photos and things, it really helps people understand almost anything better. And I encourage people to use photos as much as possible whenever they can. Okay, this thing called a license, it's a contract. It's a contract that gives permission to use the photo in some way. And like any contract, it can be different. It doesn't have to be the same, but they're pretty consistent when it comes to stock photos. First of all, is the price. Is it free or is it paid? Okay, that's pretty simple. Do you have a license to use it without paying, or do you have to pay to use the license? I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but every photograph of Albert Einstein is owned and copyrighted by a company called Getty Images. And so if you want to use a photograph of Albert Einstein anywhere, you have to get permission from them, and you have to pay for their license. They don't give them for free. So this is why a lot of museums, say no photography allowed, certain types of things that they don't allow you to take pictures of certain, because the actual reproduction of the image is licensed. Some licenses are unrestricted, meaning you can use it for anything you want, like Beata for putting in a YouTube video, or anything, or any way you might want to use it. But some licenses say they're restricted. So they might be restricted for something like personal use, meaning if you're just using it for a family presentation or something you're doing in on your own, and nobody's going to see it on the web or other places, it might be okay. Some are available for commercial use, meaning you might be using it in a publication, a flyer, a video, a slide presentation like this. And so that's commercial use, where you even though you might not be making money from it, you are still using it in a situation where you're presenting it to other people in order to communicate ideas or concepts. And then some of them just say you can use it with attribution, meaning credit. Where did you get the photo from? And or who is the photographer or the creator of that image? That's called attribution. So every license is a little bit different. And so you just have to be aware of what the language is for these licenses. Obviously, the easiest ones to use are the ones that are unrestricted, because you don't have to worry about anything. Yeah, Mary, do you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, with a lot of the Creative Commons, I see unlicensed as the criteria. So what does that mean when you're looking at it in relation to something like this?
Unlicensed means the same as unrestricted, okay, is that there's not a license associated with that image at all. Creative Commons, we'll talk a little bit about them, but they're a service that allows the creator of a piece of work to put permissions on how they're willing to let other people use it. So they can say, you don't have any permission to use it. You're required to get a license to use it, or they could say it's unlicensed, or they could say it's unlicensed with as long as you give attribution credit for it. So those are some of the differences in licensing that Creative Commons uses a lot. Okay, all of this gets down to this thing called copyright. I am not an attorney, but I am an author, I'm a photographer, I'm a content creator. And copyright in the United States in particular is why you need a license to use something that was created by someone else. Okay, it is actually written into the US Constitution. Our founding fathers put the concept of copyright in there and said Congress should pass laws that deal with copyright. And they did, okay? And what copyright does, it protects what is called original works. What's an original work? It's anything that's created, okay? So it can be a photo, it can be a book, it can be a song, it can be a design, it can be a sketch, it can be a building, it can be a play, it could be a video, it can be a movie, it can be anything that is original work that has been created by somebody is copyrighted. It has copyright, okay? And that means the word copyright is made up of two words, and it kind of says exactly what it means. It says copyright. So in 1978, the law was changed so that you don't have to stamp a piece of work with the word copyright or put it on it, but it's automatic. But most people that want to protect their own work will put something called copyright on it, or they'll say it's copyrighted on a website. And that means the owner of the work, the creator, or the creator can sell the work to somebody else, but the owner of the work has the exclusive right to reproduce it and distribute that work. Okay, that means the owner is the only one that is allowed to do it, which is the reason the founders put that in there is they said, we want to encourage writing and creative work and other things like that. And they said that the creator of a work should bear the fruit of their effort. So a playwright should bear the fruit of authoring a play. A musician should bear the fruit of writing a song. A designer, should bear the fruit of their original designs. Even cooks and recipes can be copyrighted as well. Yeah, Beata.
Bob, what is supposed to go after the copyright symbol?
The word copyright and the year and the name is all it really has to have on it.
The
That
symbol?
that is called notice. It doesn't have to have the symbol. Some people like to use the symbol, but it's not required. But the word copyright, the year, and the name of the owner that's called notice. That's why most painters sign their work. They don't actually put the date on it, but they sign their work. That's why in books you'll see copyright, 2021 by somebody's name, or you'll see something like that. So that's what, and music, you'll see things like that that are copyrighted. Copyright means that whatever work you see is something the owner of it is saying that they're the only one that has the exclusive. But even if they don't say it, it exists. You don't have to technically state that it's copyrighted to actually own the copyright to something. When you create something, if you do a doodle on a napkin in a restaurant, or you have a grandchild that draws something on a piece of paper, it's automatically copyrighted as soon as they create it. And the idea is that protects people who create original works, and it helps. So it also gives them the right to bear the fruit, but it's up to the owner to decide if they make it unlicensed or free. That's their prerogative. They can do that. They have the choice in doing that. They can say, I only want to sell this, or I'm willing to make it available for free. Okay. So some people say, well, what about Google search? Okay. I don't know if anybody was going to say that or not, or ask that question, but I asked it for you. Okay. So what about Google search? Okay. When you search Google, Google will search, my mouse triggers slide advancing. Sorry about that. When you search Google, Google will produce a set of images, but they will typically say in fine print somewhere, images may be subject to copyright. Google doesn't sort them for you. They say it's up to you to determine whether or not this image has a copyright or not. Not up to Google. Okay, they're saying we're just going to show you whatever we find and where to find it, but it's up to you to determine. And usually most of them are on Google. There is a search option on Google that says filter by license, that lets you use them. But the selection of photos that shows up when you do that is fairly reduced in size. And so it's not really a good way to search for images. This is a Google search I did for a leopard, I think, or jaguar. I'm sorry. It says jaguar right here. I just have to remember to read it. And this photo came up on Google search, and it says in fine print here, copyright Joel Sartori. He's a National Geographic photographer that does great photography lessons, by the way. But this photo, if you use this photo, you would be violating his copyright, and he technically could take legal action against you for using it. Okay, so you don't want those things to happen. That's why, big companies like Disney, that owns like the Marvel Comics brands of characters and other things, Warner Brothers and TV personalities and others, you don't see a lot of pictures of, say, Pirates of the Caribbean characters used on websites. And that's because companies like Disney and other companies that own copyrights for their work have resources that go out and search the web for them and find if anyone is using that content. And their attorneys write letters and say, you got to take it down, right? And you're violating our copyright. They usually give you a warning first. Okay. but that's why Google search is not the best way to find things. This is a class about free photos, but there are paid photo libraries, okay, out there. Adobe Stock, Big Stock Photo, Shutterstock, iStock, Getty Images, and many, many, many more. But they require you to pay a monthly subscription fee or a per photo fee in order to use them and get and license their use.
Bob, is this something like limited edition?
Would you say that again, Yvonne?
Is this something similar to limited edition?
You mean limited edition, like a limited quantity of artwork?
Yeah, right.
No. Generally, photo libraries and stock photo libraries do not restrict the number of people that can download and license it. So unlike let's say a numbered, print series where you have maybe 100 reproduction prints of a certain type of item, image or something, and after 100, no more being sold. Stock photo libraries don't place limits on how many people can download their stock image. They do usually offer a fee for exclusive use. So if you want to say, I don't want anyone else to be able to download this image, you can pay a fee for that. But it's not like limited editions so much. It's more just you're paying a fee to download a dozen, 100 different photos, and you can download whatever quantity your plan allows you to do.
Thank you.
That makes sense, Yvonne?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, great. It's a good business for photographers. Photographers make a lot of money by uploading stock photos. Okay.
Bob, you just used the picture. You just used the picture of the animal that was the Centauri's picture, but you used it even though it's copywritten. Is that a problem?
Well, the reason I'm allowed to do this is because I'm using it for educational purposes. Okay. There is a section to the copyright law called fair use. Okay. I'm not reproducing this photo. I'm showing a screenshot of it, but I am showing it for the purpose of education and information. So think about this. Let's say if you look for books on how to use, say, Microsoft Word, you find a lot of books about how to use Microsoft Word software that aren't published by Microsoft, but they have pictures of screenshots and they mention some of the menus and terminology. And we even do that on Get Setup. We're showing you screenshots of and screens from different products that we help you learn how to use, but we're using them for what's under the fair use policy of the copyright law that says we are using it for educational purposes, not for we're not trying to use this photo of Joel Sartori's as a leopard or as a jaguar in any other format or documentation.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
That explanation.
Sure. It's like news channels. When you watch something on the news, if they go to a shopping center, they don't block out the names of the brand name stores and signage at all. They don't have to because it's news. If you look at Yelp, Yelp, a lot of people write criticisms of restaurants and food and products. Look at Amazon. People are entitled to do some things, but they aren't entitled to do certain other things. So it's a matter of understanding how you can use it and what your intent is for it. But otherwise, people couldn't, if you had a problem with a restaurant, you wanted to write a review, or you liked it and you wanted to write a review and you wanted to mention the restaurant's name, if they said, oh, you can't mention our name, that violates copyright, you couldn't write a review about it. And so it would restrict free speech. So there's this balance that legal system has about, okay, we got to give people the ability to do research, education, other types of things, and that, but still protect copyright. And so there's a little bit of leeway. And you look at like people that do movie reviews or other review products on YouTube or other things. Okay, we're going to take a look at all of these different websites, and you're going to get links to all of them in the email that follows up. But there's a lot of them out there, and sometimes they ask for a donation or attribution, and most of the time it's optional. Okay, and then for those of you that have Microsoft 365 that subscribe to that, Microsoft 365 includes a stock photo library as part of all of their applications that you can access for free. And it's really a good one. Okay. How about we take a look around? Okay. Sound like a good idea? Finally, he's getting to that, right? Okay, so let me change my sharing. Anybody have any questions about some of the things we've covered so far? Okay, good. Okay, so let me stop this and start sharing my web browser here. Okay, so I've put tabs up of all these websites in my web browser, and I've got a tab for Creative Commons. We'll take a look at them. Adobe. This is Pexels. This is Pixabay. This is Unsplash. And this is Canva. Boy, there's a lot of them. Okay, so let's take a look at Creative Commons search. CreativeCommons.org is a nonprofit organization that basically creates a database of freely reusable content. Okay, so when you use the Creative Commons search tool here, you can search all the content that is available and listed with Creative Commons. People that create content register it with Creative Commons, and so Creative Commons knows how to find it. But here's where they say a little bit, I want something I can use commercially, or I can modify or adapt it. Okay, so, and then they say, here's learning more about Creative Commons licenses and tools. So let's search for something. Anybody have an animal that they want to search for today?
Hockey,
Jaguar.
What did you say, Beata?
a pacabara.
A what?
Oh, never mind. It's okay.
Okay, I don't know if I would find that. Okay, that's a tough animal.
A jaguar.
I'm gonna go with jaguar. Okay. Okay, so I type in jaguar, but I did not check use it commercially or modify or adapt. So I'm going to click search, and it will come up with a list of a variety of pictures, and it'll show sources that they're available through. And it explains that there's all these different licenses. So what are these licenses available? Okay, so you have to look at them a little bit. Okay, CCO means this work has been marked as dedicated to the public domain. The public domain means it's unlicensed and free to use. Okay, that's what public domain means. This one means public domain marked. Okay, and you can read more about the licenses here. This one says by credit the creator. This is one where if you used one of these licenses, that if I want to just say it says as long you can use it as long as you give credit to the creator. And sometimes you see that in websites like photo courtesy of, and then they might want just their name mentioned, or they might want a link to it. And so Creative Commons has a lot of different licenses, credit the creator. And if you adapt it or modify the photo, let's say you edit it in some way, you've still got to credit the creator in any way. And then they have this one, which is non-commercial uses only. Okay, you can't use it for anything commercially, but you still have to credit the creator. And this one says, no derivatives or adaptions permitted. You can't change anything about the photo. All you can do is use it in the size and shape and format that it's in, and you have to credit the creator. And then you've got this other one called where you have to, and you can see it starts to get complicated. It starts to get complicated. You have to learn a lot about licensing. Obviously, the CCO is the least restricted, but you can see that there's not a lot of, we're wondering why are we getting these here? And we're looking for Jaguars. So maybe I have to find others that are here. And you see the quality varies a lot based on the license. So the better ones tend to be people that Jaguars that you want that want you to give credit or don't want you to change them in any way. So Creative Commons is a good resource, but the understanding of licensing is going to be a little more challenging, I think, than some of the other sites that make it a little bit easier. But that's, I wanted to mention that because some people do use Creative Commons, and when you search the web, you'll probably come up with a lot of Creative Commons licenses. Yeah,
Bob, can you zoom your screen a little bit more? I mean, it's just
sure.
tiny.
Hold on a second. There we go. How's that?
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Really?
in the view options on your Zoom screen, if you go up to where it says you're now viewing Bob Cohen's screen,
Yeah.
to the right of that is something called view options. That gives you the ability to change and enlarge it on your end.
Oh, thank you. Okay,
Sure.
you can go back.
Okay, well, okay, it just shows everything. Mary, you had a question.
Yeah, my question is kind of as we're moving forward. People look for photos for a lot of different things. And I was wondering, as you're moving forward through some of these sites, if you could help us understand what might be better sites for, say, landscapes or art or people, or because we use photos for so many different topics. And I would assume that some of those links are going to better serve one kind of theme or subject than another. And so it would be helpful as you're going through there to say, oh yeah, this one's really good for art, and this one's really, really strong in terms of the natural world, and things like that.
The remaining sites are actually all extremely good because they have millions of photos. Okay, and so they're all very versatile. Let's take a look at a couple I like to use. One is called Pexels. Okay, millions. Okay, of photos. So it says the best free stock photos and videos shared by talented creators. Okay, let's try a different animal. Let's try a panda. Okay, typically it'll let me search for items. It'll let me search. So these are pictures of pandas, and these are all free. Okay, so if I look on Laura the Explorer, okay, that's the name of the photographer, and I look at this download link, I can click on this icon and it's downloaded the photo to my download folder already. And it says, our creators love hearing from you. It's not required, but just if you want to. So that's how you can link to them if you want to, but it is not required. You are able to download the photo and use it for free. And if you like a particular photographer, you can create an account on Pexels and save them as a favorite if you like them. So if I wanted to look for, say, landscapes, Mary, and I type in landscapes, this is what I get, okay? There are literally millions of photos that people upload to these websites. And so if you're looking for mountain or snow or others, you can even filter them out. So there's filters here, give you the ability to filter by orientation.
Wow.
Horizontal, vertical, or square by size. 24 megapixels is a really large, high quality photo. My Nikon camera takes images, original images in that resolution. Usually for the web, you don't need something very big. But if you wanted a color, selection, I want a landscape that is yellow. Okay, I don't know what that'll get me, but let's see.
Let's see.
Lee, you have your hand up.
Yeah, yes, I have a question for you, Bob. And I had taken your other class about the Zoom backgrounds. I know you're getting to it, but I was going to go ahead and ask it. I was looking for like, like I said, I like beach scenes. So if I had something with the beach and you can see the palm trees waving, is that considered a live photo? And when I download it, will it come to me live? And can I take the live and then put it as my Zoom background? I was just going to ask that. That's been in my mind.
When you see trees waving, let me see if I can.
And can I get that type of picture in
I know
pixels?
what you're talking about. Let me change I think I have it in my virtual background here. So if you wanted to see something like that, okay, this is a video. Okay, so let me go back to sharing my screen. One of the options you have on these sites is videos. They have photos and they have videos. So they couldn't find anything with yellow videos. I'm going to clear my filters here. Let's see if I remember how to do that. And I want to reset. And now I have landscape videos. So if I wanted to see what this video looked like, I can play it. Some of them have sound, some of them don't. Free download. Okay. Now, Zoom background videos take up a lot. They only let you upload certain sizes, but you can find photos, you can find videos, or you can find particular photographers or videographers you want. So that's Pexels. Okay. So if you didn't find what you were looking on Pexels, this is what I do is I'll go to something called Pixabay. They've only got 2.2 million photos, videos, and they have music too. So if I wanted to look for landscapes here, I would find. Now, one thing to be cautious of is that some of these sites offer free photos because they do have a connection to some of the paid stock photo sites. So here's sponsored images by iStock. These are premium, okay? It's these that are free, but there's only 244,768 of them. Okay, and so this one, the sites work pretty similarly. I click on the photo, and then it says free download. Okay, now they make money from advertising and other things, and so you get a Pixabay license, free for commercial use, no attribution required. Yeah, Alice.
I wondered, for these sites, do you have to register and give them your information in order for them to allow you to use their pictures?
You don't have to, but if you want to save a history of your downloads, that would be a reason for registering, but you don't have to register.
Okay, because I did run into that with Pixels where they required registration, and I wasn't sure what I would get back if I would get a lot of advertising or something.
I'm not sure that they did require registration. I didn't know they changed that. So they must have changed that since I registered a while ago. Okay, but the registration doesn't cost anything, and they don't send me any email that I get, but it gives you the ability to follow a particular photographer or artist. And here's the search, but if I can restrict it to photos, I can also select videos as well. And these are videos of landscapes. Again, the top is premium, but these are different ones that are available for free. And they tell you they're like 46 seconds or 24 seconds or something like that.
So if I'm an amateur photographer and I go out and take landscape photos, I can sell them to these sites and they
Well,
become, go ahead.
no, yeah, they don't pay you
Okay.
for it. What happens is that if somebody downloads your photo, you know, what'll happen on your photos, it's free for you to set up an account as a photographer. It doesn't cost you anything. And you can upload your photos to the site and they will make them available in the search results or other things. But people, again, that people will donate to you or they'll give you attribution. So they don't buy them from you, but it's up to the users that use them to do that. But yeah, you can make a little bit of money doing that, you know. So that's another one, Pixabay. And thank you for letting me know they have to register. Now, Unsplash is a source of freely usable images. Okay, they're popular. Getty Images just bought Unsplash because, as you can see with some of these sites, they're free, but they're also tied into a paid site. So you just have to be. So let's take a look at what Unsplash has for landscapes. Okay. And there's a bunch of Unsplash landscapes that we can have. And so there's collections that we can find, and we can just download the photo and it downloads it to my desktop. And it says, say thanks, give a shout out, give them credit or whatever. And, you know, there's an ad that pops up, but you don't have to if you don't want to, okay? And you can follow photographers if you choose to. So that's Pexels, Pixabay, and Unsplash. Okay, so we probably found about 6 to 8 million photos between those three sites so far. But maybe you're still looking. Okay, maybe you're just really hard. You're just struggling. You can't find the right photo you want to find. Okay, well, there's a couple of others. There's Adobe. Adobe is, for those of you that use Adobe, I don't know, Pat, if you use Adobe Photoshop at all for your photography, but Adobe has a tool within Adobe Photoshop that makes it easy for photographers to upload photos to Adobe stock. And you can tell them you want to make it free. So here's free photos, free vectors. Adobe is probably one of the better ones. Mary, you asked about that. They're probably better. One of the betters it has called a vector. That's an illustration, but the others do as well. So if I look here for illustrations of landscapes, you know, it's kind of odd that what it search turns up, but I can find illustrations here. But Adobe gives it has what are called vectors, and shows you all things here. So and they're encouraging you to find a subscription, and they give you all types of ways to sort what you're looking for based on what it is. And this is the free category here. I still am not in paid, but I can go to premium or if I want to, but I'm going to stay in free. So if I want to find.
So is there one of these sites, if I was looking for primary source history photographs or something, or handbills from the Civil War or something like that? Are there going to be any places that are going to have some of that more specialized niche sort of stuff?
I don't know. I mean, you'd have to find out some things. So let me go back to changing this to all. Okay. So like if you were looking for a photo of say a Civil War memorabilia or something like that, maybe, is that what you're thinking of, Mary?
Yeah, I was just, because I'm a teacher, so I'm always trying to figure out how to use this while I know that I have the fair use stuff, but sometimes finding the subject areas that I'm actually needing to use for class, I go through a bunch of these and still can't find what I'm looking for.
Right, right. Sometimes that can be a challenge. So, I mean, another resource, I didn't think of it for this class, but one more stock photo site is Canva. So let's say, Let me see if they have anything on antique, or let's see if they say anything about Civil War. I don't know if memorabilia is the right thing, but there's some. Okay. A lot of it's just the search strategy you might consider using to pull some things up. Another resource that you may want to consider is the Library. Let me spell it right. Of Congress.
Okay.
A lot of things, they have digital collections and prints and photographs online in the Library of Congress that are, available to use, and other things, but they have, because a lot of these are no longer under copyright, but check the permissions. In many cases, they do allow you to use them for educational purposes in a classroom environment. So things like Civil War, glass negatives, and related prints, okay. So these are all things, and I don't know what I haven't looked at the licensing information on the Library of Congress, but they will make, it's pretty easy to find out about that, to get information about it. So it's about the collect. So they'll have, and they'll tell you what it's going to be used for, and try using search terms tool. But there's a lot of things that are published by the U.S. government that are part of our National Archives collections that are not subject to copyright as well.
Thank you.
Sure. So Canva is a great resource. Canva is a paid service, but they also have a lot of free stock photos you can use. They have things like templates. They have different, products that you can use their photos and teaching things and using them on products or information. But they have a tremendous library of free free photos that you can use. So just make sure you're in the free section. Obviously, it was Easter recently, and so there were a lot of things, but it'll tell you it's free, and it'll give you the ability to download it or use it in a design if you want to. Okay. But then they have more that are related to it. So these are just some stock photo sites that can help you get a better exposure of what you're doing. Now, when you go to print something, let me go to my download photo here. Let me change my screen share to everything. Okay, and I will see if that works. You're going to see yourself here for a second. But if I go to the download photo and I click on a photo here and I open that up, open up photo, there we go. And if I want to go print it, I would go to File, Print, and then it would let me print it on my printer. But this is where it all depends on your printer and how your printer works. I have a Mac, and so it will let me scale it to fit, or I can rotate it or do other things if I want to. But not all printers work exactly the same way. So it's really more particular to your printer itself.
Go from one class.
So a lot of photos available, right? A lot of choices, that are places where they're absolutely free. You don't, they spell it out for you pretty right up front in terms of this is free for you to use. It's up to you to donate or make a contribution or give that user credit. And a lot of it's just a search strategy that you might want to consider is what's going to be better for searching. Yeah, Beata.
So, Bob, so you can get photos, videos, and the correct term is vectors for illustrations or things that are like done by ad agencies.
A drawing, right?
It's
A drawing
called
as
a
opposed to a
vector.
photo. It's called a vector or illustration, right? You might find either term used in that for that. So yeah, and then these sites do have audio as well. Stock music is something people like to use. Now, and if you have Microsoft 365 and you use Word or PowerPoint, there's a tool in the application called Insert on your top ribbon bar. And if you click on Insert, you will find an option for stock photos built into Microsoft 365. And those are all part of your Microsoft 365 subscription that you paid for, and make it available for you to use in any document or PowerPoint presentation, or even to export it as well.
So that's like an upgrade from the olden days when they used to have clip art.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's an upgrade. Microsoft's been throwing in like more ingredients into Microsoft 365 to make it more valuable. Then you're just not getting a license to use Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. You're getting a lot more services now along with it, a lot more features with it. Yeah. So that's another resource. If you're paying and you have access to Microsoft 365, just look at the Insert tool in your ribbon whenever you're in a Word document or a PowerPoint, and select stock photos, and you'll have a library of stock photos that oftentimes that's been more than enough for what I've needed to use. Wow. Hey, can you believe we spent an hour on this already? Yeah.
Bob, I have a really quick question. I hope we can stick in.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Thinking about doing an interest group for Get Set Up, and I've been looking at some slides to see if I could use them. That would be considered education as well if I'm doing it under Get Set Up's umbrella, so to speak.
I'm not a copyright attorney, so I can't say definitively yes or no, because it's really going to depend on what use. Obviously, all of my photos and artwork come from stock photo libraries that are that have permission to use in any way I want to. So I don't. But if you're trying to use something that's already got a copyright on it, it's kind of, you have to understand what you can do and what you need to do. If you can make your point without using a photo, you're expected to do that when you're talking about licensed content. It just depends on the content you're using. Okay.
Okay.
And so
Thank you.
there'll be a link to the Copyright Office and the information on fair use to read up about it. But since I'm not an attorney, I can't really give you a legal opinion on what's okay and what's not okay.
Well, it happens to be showing how to make something, and there are many, and I will see the same picture dozens of times on the internet, and it's like, okay, so what is the source of that? And it's being used all over on Pinterest and on different sites like that. And so that was what my question was, be able to also use that.
Sometimes products, are okay to use a product in a picture if you're trying to explain what it is. Like if you look at a site like Wirecutter that does reviews of products, they show photos of products from Amazon and other things like that. So it varies. I mean, it varies a little bit. So it's really, unfortunately, it gets down to the specifics of what you're going to use and how you use it.
Okay, things have changed since I taught. I taught technology, and I remember showing my middle school kids pictures of a bracelet that I did not want to wear when they were talking about, copyright issues and using that type of thing. And it happened to be handcuffs. And it's like, I stressed that with them many years ago. And this is kind of the same thing, only updated 2021.
It is, yeah, because everything's digital. And you may have heard in the news about something called NFTs, non-fungible tokens, a piece of artwork that was a non-fungible token sold for like $54 million. So the world is changing. The world is changing. A couple of related classes. I mean, I do a class on Zoom virtual backgrounds, if that's what you want photos for. I do a class on PowerPoint, and in the PowerPoint class, I show people how to access the stock photos. Some related classes using things like the share drives on the internet are great. How to buy your next PC, understanding things. So these are all resources that are available. You're going to get class notes from Get Set Up. We're going to get links to all of these websites and some other links to copyright offices and learning a little bit more about it. So I suggest if you have questions about that, read up about that. And if this class helped you and you think other people might benefit from it, let us know with feedback. And if there's something else you'd like to learn more about or another class idea, just suggest it that way as well. So we encourage you.
Just a quickie, if I could. So
Yeah.
when you get the class video, the slides are not part of that, right?
Oh, they will be. Everything that I've shared on the screen that you see, you will see the slides in the video, but you don't get a separate file of the slides themselves.
Oh, well, there was one class I took where it was just the video and none of the slides, and I didn't find that helpful.
Oh, that was probably a recording setting that needs to be changed, because normally when we record them so that you see the slides, that whatever we share on the screen is what you would see, as in addition to the gallery of the video of the people that are in the video. But you should, that's a setting that might be wrong. We're switching over to some other tools that will make it more consistent about that too. So if you let them know about that particular class, they can check the Zoom settings for that recording. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, you can request it at help@getsetup.io and let us know. So did you find some places for photos that you might not have known about before? Okay, good. All right, then we accomplished the number one goal of the class. Okay, so appreciate the feedback. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I've got one more class. Maybe I'll see some of you again. But thank you for helping make this first, time class a really enjoyable one for me too. Appreciate that. And your questions help me kind of fine tune the material as we go into some other things too. But hopefully, you'll find new sources of photos for everything. Thanks. Okay. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.